Site of America's most notable family feud, a fierce gunfight in the middle of an old coal town in West Virginia's youngest county. I'm Wayne Worth, and you're watching On the Road in West Virginia, our 55 counties, Mingo County. Now, the origins and how Mingo County became our state's youngest county in 1895 is quite an interesting story. You see, Mingo County was Logan County prior to its creation, and it all started when a local moonshiner in the region protested the Logan County court for finding him guilty of making illegal moonshine. His argument was that his crime was committed in Lincoln County and that the Logan County court had no jurisdiction in Lincoln County. A survey was conducted and the moonshiner was right. In the end, charges were refiled in Lincoln County and the state legislature agreed that Logan County was way too big for its britches, and as a result formed Mingo County. Prior to these shenanigans, what we call Mingo County today was mainly used as a hunting ground by the Mingo Indians. Later, around 1800, when a few less arrows were whizzing by their heads, the first white settlers started to settle in the county and started small farms. Now, what we call Mingo County today during most of the 1800s was a relatively quiet place, but that all changed after the Civil War, and this area of the Tug Valley erupted into a family feud. The famous Hatfield and McCoy feud was between two families in this region. The Hatfields in West Virginia, who was led by Anderson Devilance Hatfield, who had a successful timber business, and the McCoys in Kentucky, led by Randolph McCoy, who owned some livestock. Now, the first incident occurred in 1865 with the murder of Asa McCoy, a soldier who fought in the Union Army. No one was ever charged for his murder, but rumors flew that Jim Vance, a member of the Hatfield family, was behind the murder. Then there was the famous hog trial that took place in 1878 when Randolph McCoy accused Floyd Hatfield of stealing one of his hogs. The scales of justice, however, seemed to be tilted in Floyd Hatfield's favor and he was acquitted. Now, the love affair between Devilance's son Johnsey Hatfield and Randolph McCoy's daughter Rosanna during the 1880 election, and then Johnsey's flat-out abandonment of the pregnant Rosanna to marry her cousin Nancy McCoy, didn't help matters. However, things took a turn for the worse in August of 1882 during Election Day when Devilance's brother Ellison Hatfield got into a fight with three McCoy brothers and was stabbed 27 times and shot in the back. Now, after Ellison died from his wounds, the three McCoy brothers were captured by the Hatfields and tied to a pawpaw tree where they were executed. Although there were many indictments on the Hatfield family, including Devilance, for the murders of the three McCoy brothers, nothing ever materialized and it seemed like the feud was going to come to an end. Well, that was until 1887 when a man named Perry Klein said, "Not so fast, my friend," and used his political connections to have the governor of Kentucky request that West Virginia extradite Devilance and several others of the Hatfield family for the murder of the three McCoy brothers. Now, of course, West Virginia refused, and bad Frank Phillips took the law into his own hands and began crossing the border and taking many of the Hatfields into custody. This prompted a rather harsh response which resulted in the burning of Randolph McCoy's home, killing his two children. A couple of weeks later, bad Frank Phillips re-entered West Virginia and killed Jim Vance, Devilance's uncle, which prompted a shootout between Frank's men and the Hatfields, which resulted in one of the Hatfields, William Dempsey, being killed. In August of 1889, 9 of the Hatfields were tried for murder in Pikeville, Kentucky, and 8 of them were sentenced to life in prison. Ellison Mounts was the only Hatfield to plead guilty and was sentenced to death by hanging, which was carried out in 1890. The famous Hatfield and McCoy feud finally came to an end. The end of the feud immediately followed with the dawn of the coal industry, and Mingo County went from being one of the last frontiers on the East Coast to becoming a major economic player. The coming of the N&W Railroad, which is today the Norfolk Southern, also brought large-scale coal mining. Once just farmland in the 1800s, by the 1890s the town of Williamson became the economic center of Mingo County as the N&W Railroad came to town and also built a relatively large rail yard. Coal not only brought a lot of wealth to the county, but it also brought a lot of immigrants from places as far as Italy, Russia, and Poland, just to name a few. Many African Americans also migrated from the southern states to work in the mines. Now, the county's population between 1900 and 1910 increased by 8,000, and towns such as Matewan and Gilbert started to grow rapidly as a result of this early coal boom. However, tensions between the miners and coal operators started to grow, as many of the miners who sought to join the union for safer working conditions and being paid something other than phony money or script were being fired and evicted at gunpoint from their company homes. Many of these evictions were carried out by the Baldwin Felts Detective Agency, whose interest was solely to protect and serve the coal company at any cost. Now, many of the coal miners became angry when witnessing families literally being put out of their homes onto the street solely because a coal miner wanted to join the union. One man who also expressed disdain in how the coal companies were treating the miners and their families in the community was Sid Hatfield, the chief of police for the town of Matewan. All of this tension came to a head on May 19, 1920, when 13 Baldwin Felts detectives arrived in town and immediately started evicting miners and their families. Now, Sid and a group of armed coal miners caught up with the detectives, and Sid attempted to arrest them as the detectives attempted to arrest Sid. Well, what ensued next were shots being fired right in the middle of town, and when the dust settled, 7 detectives, 2 miners, and the Mayor Cabell Testerman were killed.
The Matewan Massacre is said to be the incident that sparked what we know as the Mine Wars, which resulted in America's largest labor insurrection with the Miners' March and the Battle of Blair Mountain in Logan County.
As for whatever happened with Sid Hatfield, well, he became quite a hero for the miners across West Virginia, married Mayor Testerman's wife, and was tried on murder charges stemming from the shootout, which we'll talk more about when we visit McDowell County. By 1933, miners in the southern coal fields were able to join the union, and coal mining in the county flourished throughout the rest of the 20th century, providing significant wealth, steady jobs, and a stable tax base.
After the 1950s, coal jobs started to decline due to the mechanization in mining. Also, in recent years, the industry has taken a significant hit with the abundance of cheap natural gas, tougher environmental regulations, competition with Western coal, and the significant reductions in coal exports.
Now, Mingo County still has a population of around 26,000, and with the completion of Corridor G, which is US 119 during the 1980s, and the current building of the King Coal Highway, the county has the potential to attract investment for years to come. Heritage tourism has also become a viable economic engine in the county, with both the Hatfield and McCoy Feud driving tour and the Hatfield and McCoy trail system.
From a family feud that started over a pig to a 27-year-old police chief who stood up for the coal miners who helped build this great nation. I'm Wayne Worth, and until next time, always remember, what we value and hold important to our lives today came from events that happened yesterday, and it's when we begin to understand the events of yesterday that we fully embrace today, which makes tomorrow become less of a mystery.